Yo, everybody. Welcome to Off Panel, a weekly interview podcast about all things comics, brought to you by Sketch.com. I'm your host, David Harper, and this week's guest is the AV Club's resident comics critic, amongst other places, returning for the 5th annual Superhero State of the Union. It's Oliver Sava. Thanks for coming on, Oliver.
Hello. So excited to be back for the 5th time, half a decade.
I have to say, your enthusiasm kind of ranges when it comes to this. I remember 2 years ago, I was like, I'm a little worried about Oliver. I don't think he's feeling it this year. The last 2 years, though, the energy is back. You're back feeling it.
Well, last year was Hickman, probably, right? Did Hickman start X-Men at that point?
We have never talked about Hickman on the podcast.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. 3 hours later, we talk about one DC comic.
And it was Speed Metal. Sorry, Speed Metal. Anyways,
Metal.
I have no idea if that's even out yet. But
Vroom,
all right.
vroom.
So for listeners that don't know, this, again, is our 5th annual Superhero State of the Union, where we look at really Marvel and DC, and we talk about everything that's going on with them, our thoughts on all of it, et cetera, et cetera. Normally, I have this whole plan, but this time I'm going to do Choose Your Own Adventure. Do you want to start with Marvel or DC?
It's do I go into the crazy minefield first, or do I go for softballs? Hell yeah, let's go with the softball. Marvel.
I was going to say, I honestly didn't know which one would be the crazy minefield.
No, I think that DC's more of a minefield right now. Everything's crazy at DC. We don't know anything that's going to happen in the next year at DC. Nope. Marvel, I kind of have I have the feeling we're going to see the Phoenix again. There's going to be some X-Men stuff. Whatever. It's going to be fine. DC, who knows? Next year, maybe there's not even a single ongoing series at DC. It's all digital first, and then it's all trades.
Okay, so, here's the second part of the Choose Your Own Adventure. I'm going to decide on what we go with based on what do you think is working best at Marvel right now? What's the thing that's working best for you? And I have two ideas of what it could be. It's either Al Ewing related or it's X-Men related. Which one do you pick?
That's both of them. Let's start strong. Let's start giving them what they want. Let's go X-Men right now.
Okay. So, I'm going to start with a little spiel about myself. I really enjoy a lot of the current X-Men stuff, but it's definitely, I think that by design, it's trying to deliver experiences for a lot of different types of readers. It's not just all these books are going to be something that one person loves. And maybe that's the case, but that's not what it's been for me. It's kind of, I would say half and half for me. But I'm curious, on a broader scale, has the X-Men line heat coming off of Powers of 10 and House of X, has that continued for you?
Absolutely.
Oh,
the heat is totally there, even though I'm 100% with you where it's very much thirds for me where there's 1/3 of books that I love, 1/3 of them that I think are good, and then probably 1/3 that I don't read. Maybe I didn't read Fallen Angels. I really don't read. I read one issue,
okay,
and then I tried a second issue and I couldn't, and I would actually kind of it was basically doom scrolling, but issues of Fallen Angels.
Were you reading reviews or Wikipedia entries about the book?
No,
the
PDFs.
Okay.
They would send me a digital copy and I would go through it and I'd be like, what the fuck? Sorry, there's going to be swearing in
That's
this
fine.
One because we're talking about Fallen Angels, baby. It got
Apple's busy,
so
man.
bad.
They're not watching cussing.
It was unbelievably bad. Truly, kind of one of the biggest disasters I feel like I've seen in superhero comics in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just crazy. The fact that such a cultivated line would have such a gigantic disaster in it. Ugly in every respect.
Oh my God. And it was your guy.
Story not interesting. Ugh. Just the art is so bad. And, we don't have to call anybody out. I mean, it's really bad.
Is it bad?
Ugly.
I'm not going to say the name of the artist, but is it bad that I, the first creator, besides possibly Al Ewing, that I associate with you is that person?
Oh, that's so awful. That is bad. Come on, at least... Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think about somebody else that you could associate with me. I don't know. I do bitch about him.
We'll just stick with Al Ewing. Okay, so anyways, somebody asked on Twitter when you put out a request for things for us to talk about, top 5 X books. And we don't normally rank stuff. I'm not going to ask you to rank them, but like, if what are the 5 ones you're enjoying the most?
Yeah. So yeah, not a full ranking, but I can definitely do a top 5. Marauders is in there for sure. I feel like that might be the standout. I like Jerry Duggan's writing, but this is like, it just kind of feels perfect. He has the cast that taps into all of his strengths as a writer. He gets to play with such like a delightfully large sandbox. And
the character work is so good.
It's so good. The action is so good in that book. I don't care about Bishop at all, except now I do, because there's been like 4 cool Bishop sequences. Like, I really do think that publishers underestimate the value of an incredible action sequence. We'll get to it, but like Wonder Woman Dead Earth, like that book is a book that should have pissed off everybody, but it was so cool. Like, cool stuff, and it looks cool on the page, and a writer thought of how that would look, and the artist executed it really, really well. Awesome.
Because they're both the same person.
Well, but even in Marauders, where it's not, like, there are cool action sequences, like Kitty Pryde, or Kate, I need to call her Kate, phasing the gun through the guy's leg really early on, like, which is just like kind of a grisly use of her powers. I feel like we got some cool ice stuff in that book. And then again, there was, I think it's like Bishop and Madripoor, and it's just him like rolling around shooting people, but it looked really cool. The attitude was there. That book has serious swagger, and it really has it right now too. I mean, can we spoil stuff or no?
Yeah. Okay. So full disclosure, going forward, we will be talking about stuff from this week, like including Marauders number 12. So if you're worried about spoilers, I don't know, wrong podcast.
Come join us after you read Marauders number 12 specifically, because all of the X-Men are queer now, and it's excellent. Like, I was absolutely thrilled. I think there's some pacing issues with issue number 12. A lot is going on in that issue, and I don't necessarily know that it had enough room to breathe. But also, next issue is X of Swords, right? So like, it's wrapping up their first year. I'm not going to complain about a lot of plot in an issue, especially when it's like, oh, and Kate Pryde's making out with her tattoo artist or whatever. Like,
also that long look at Rachel.
Oh, of course, that was. I mean, and that Rachel redesign too is like, just, it reads very butch in a way that I really, really enjoy. I like those X Factor designs a lot, even though I don't know if X Factor is in my top 5. So, okay, Marauders.
Wait, really quick. I want to make one comment about Marauders 12.
Go.
The only thing that bothered me about that issue is Russell Dowderman's Kill Shaw was so much better than Matteo Lolli's Kill Shaw. Just much better.
And I didn't like that we had that whole, like, don't give us the last page as the cover. Like, that kind of defeats, it really deflates the dramatic impact of something when you literally have it as the very first image when you open the book.
It's also
not even
cool
before
cover,
you open the book.
I like that cover a lot.
Oh, it's amazing cover. The hair on that cover is so unbelievable.
Good.
Yeah. So good. And like, I do like that her hair was really wild in that issue too, though.
Yeah. So what's the rest of your top 5?
Okay. X-Men. I really dig that main X-Men book. And I know that some people feel like that book is all tease. And
what?
Yes, where it's like every issue is like a new first chapter of another story. And it's like, when are we going to get chapter 2 of a story? But I don't care. I love it. I think it's really fun. What was the most recent one?
The most recent one was
Magneto is the Empire tie-in. That shit was cool.
And also, really I loved how they were using the data pages to talk about combining powers, and then they were showing like, God, who was it? Was it Magma and it was Iceman? And they did the whole like volcano shooting up, and then like him freezing it, and then Magneto using it as metal. I mean, I actually think that in some ways, like, I feel like I really want Marvel and DC to both study what works about X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men book that's going right now, because I think the one and done method that Hickman's using, I don't know how easy for other writers to emulate it would be, but I think it's the perfect way to do superhero comics personally. Like it gives you a great look into this world. It doesn't require a ton of continuity, but if you understand the continuity, it's even better. I don't know. I love it. It's number one for me, but not that I'm ranking them.
Yeah. So X-Men for sure. Hellions.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's only 3 issues in, but it scratches so many of my itches. I love like a continuity deep dive. I love Suicide Squad, essentially. Like I love heroes turned villains story stuff, and that's what it is. Nightcrawler has a very interesting role in that book where he's actually not in the main cast. He like exists in the data pages. Fallen Angels, awful. So it's nice to see Psylocke get to do like have something that is building on her past in an interesting way. That's not like you were the mother of a dead kid or something. I don't even know what happened in Fallen Angels.
I only read the first 2 issues. I have no idea what happened.
It was bad. All I remember is that it was bad. But no, Madeline Pryor. Oh my gosh,
very good.
Like
the stuff with Havoc was good.
She's very much like my sweet spot of X-Men comics. That's when I was introduced. Like I mean, Claremont and Byrne, but then also I read a lot of just like random issues of like late 80s X-Men. Whereas I feel like I read all of Claremont and Byrne completely. And then I've read like smatterings all throughout the next 10 years, essentially. So, and I really like Madeline Pryor shit. I love Inferno. So very much looking forward to where that goes. Yeah. Have you read Hellions?
Oh yeah. Hellions is good. I like it. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 just because to a certain degree, it feels like currently right now, it feels like a mission book. Like I don't really see what I don't really see what it's like. If it's going to have a long-term purpose, I don't really see what that's going to be. Because it does feel like Suicide Squad, but it doesn't feel like they have their Amanda Waller. And like, okay, so for my third one, I will put X Factor in my top 5. And the reason for that is because I feel like X Factor has a clear reason to exist. And I think with such a sprawling line at this point, it's like you need, and this is not me besmirching Ben Percy and Victor Bogdanovich and Adam Kubert's name, but it's like you need more of a reason to exist, in my opinion, than just Wolverine being a thing. Like X Factor, it's like, you know, they serve a purpose, and then also that book is a lot of fun. I haven't read X Factor 3 yet though, so who knows.
I mean, I think if you like the first 2, you'll definitely like the third one.
Yeah.
That's funny because I actually would put Wolverine in my top 5.
Oh, there we go.
Shockingly, I would put Wolverine above X-Force. There was something I found extremely thrilling about opening the most recent issue of Wolverine, and the roll call was Wolverine, Omega Red, and Dracula. I also think Victor Bogdanovich, born to draw Wolverine.
He's
born to draw. Like, he was in DC for such a long time, and literally you were made to do one character, and it's Wolverine. Like, I always find like cycles of art really interesting, and like who's inspired by who, and he's like the ultimate Greg Capullo clone. And it works. Because did Capullo ever draw Wolverine?
I don't think so.
I don't think he drew them.
I don't think he's ever driven. Has he drawn Marvel? Period.
Yeah, he was an X-Force artist.
Oh, a long time ago though. Like,
oh yeah, and like Quasar and stuff like that, I believe.
Yeah, so that was probably pre-Spawn, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, he probably drew Wolverine in X-Force, but like, so it fits really well. I don't know. There's something about I find it interesting how you want everything to connect into the bigger plan.
That's not necessarily the case. I mean, I don't mean I want it to connect to the bigger plan. I guess it's like I want, it's like I want the book to have a reason to exist. It's like X
Yeah.
Factor fits because, oh, we got to figure out what happened with like the dead people, so we're going to study that. And I like Wolverine. I actually do like the Wolverine book. It might have been a bad choice of like besmirching that. It's an interesting book and it's fun. And I just like, I don't know. There's just something that feels kind of plain to me about it. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Although,
well, so what I like about it is that there's always going to be a Wolverine book, and like I like seeing what this character, how Krakoa essentially changes his existence, and it doesn't really. He's still very much like regular Wolverine, but like Krakoa creates so many fun like side story things where like this book opened with Wolverine killing his whole team, right? Like
right.
that wasn't a hallucination. He just like straight up killed all of them and then they just get resurrected. So like I like how in House of X that very first shot of Wolverine is him like cuddly surrounded by the kids.
Yeah.
And this book is very much like, no, I'm still Wolverine. I still play by my own rules. And like
That's a good point.
even as I say it though, I'm like, I don't like this book. Like I shouldn't be so into this Wolverine book. But I really liked Ben Percy's Green Arrow once once it changed the art team and didn't have Simon Kodransky as
Oh
art.
my God.
Not even joking. When they, in Rebirth, because that was his pre-Rebirth artist was Simon Kodransky, and then they go from Kodransky to Otto Schmidt and Juan Ferreira and Jamal Campbell.
Yeah.
It's like you get upgraded to a dream team of artists, and shockingly, your writing is better now. Like,
man, it is such a curse for you that Simon Kodransky is so efficient at drawing.
So fast.
He's so fast. He's so fast.
He's quote unquote drawing. Oh no.
But I do think it's really interesting that like on paper, I feel like this should be one of my books and not one of your books because I am like the ultimate Wolverine mark. Like I love anything with Wolverine in it, and like I don't know what it is about this one. In a weird way, it reminds me of like late '80s, early '90s, like Mark Teixeira and like Larry Hama.
And I didn't read Wolverine at that time period
Sure.
at all.
Sure.
That's a big blind spot for me. So it could just be it's tapping into an energy that I am not familiar with.
Yeah.
That I enjoy quite a bit.
I do think it's funny though, because like you talking about it is actually making me like it more because I like your point about the fact that we have this cuddly Wolverine who plays with kids and on Krakoa and stuff like that. But then also like getting into the fact that he's still this guy. Like one thing I really liked from the third issue was that they had that scene where he had that special gate that was made just for him so he can go to this place that totally sucks, but is like very Wolverine specific, like Canadian bar in the middle of nowhere where he can just do his thing. And like, that's where Omega Red and like a million vampires track him down. Like that makes sense. It's like Wolverine he loves the Krakoa stuff, but he still needs his spot. And I like that.
Yep, absolutely.
So my fourth one I'm going to say really quick, and I feel like you're not going to like this, and I feel like it's more of your type of book. Cable, Jerry Duggan, Phil Noto. I love it.
Yeah, I dig it.
It's super fun. I can't believe a Cable book is this fun.
I don't know if it's in my top 5, but I definitely dig Cable for sure.
It's really fun. I really didn't think I was going to enjoy it, but it's like completely wacky, and Jerry Duggan seems like he's having a lot of fun. I'm not normally a huge Phil Noto fan, but I really like him here. He's like doing a great job with like the humor, which has been kind of surprising to me.
I really like Phil Noto. He's just not on the projects that I'm interested a lot of the time. I've been a fan of his for like, I want to say close to 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I've loved Phil Noto for a really long time. And yeah, very happy to see him playing around in this universe. Cable, what it has is like and Marauders has this too, a very like youthful, playful energy.
Yeah.
Extremely playful books, even though they have giant stakes or whatever. But I mean like, I'm an easy mark for the Space Knights for no reason. I have no connection to them, but I love it when the Space Knights show up and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I just find Rom really interesting. Do not know if I've ever read a Rom comic, but like maybe I think I saw him when I was young. I saw him on a stand or something. It's just like, what are the things that pop in your head and then make you interested in a property? So when like Space Knights showed up and I was like, ooh, this is going to be fun and weird. It's because it's connecting it to like a different part of lore in the Marvel universe as well. And I mean, it seems, I mean, the X line is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in all over the place.
So, you know what's really interesting about that is I just recently wrote this piece about Jason Aaron's Avengers run. And like Jason Aaron's Avengers run is a real conundrum to me because it's like, in some ways, I like a lot of it. And then in other ways, it like makes literally no sense. It like has no connection in a lot of ways to the rest of the Marvel line when I'm reading it. Like it doesn't even reference Empire like whatsoever. Like there's the Age of Khonshu. There's like obelisks and like pyramids everywhere, while like the Kotati are supposed to be like destroying the Earth or whatever. And it's really fascinating that that's happening while I actually think that like the X-Men line was unbelievable at seamlessly integrating Empire into like the main book and also into Empire X-Men, which was a shit ton of fun. It was so fun.
Can Empire X-Men be my fifth spot? It's not. But,
I would almost go with it. My fifth one is Giant Size, and that feels like a key too.
You take Giant Size, and I'll take Empire X-Men because I think that would have probably been my fifth.
But Empire X-Men, I mean, like seriously, I am ride or die for Explodey Boy now. I don't even like. Did he exist before? Because I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure that he was just a dead mutant on Genosha.
Yeah.
Like I think that he was mentioned though. I think by name.
Yeah.
So I think that this is not a necessarily completely new character. And he honestly could have shown up in a Joss Whedon issue of Genosha stuff too. Like,
right.
Who knows? But, like, I am not the person for that.
That was a really fun book. It was unbelievably fun. But I mean, I think
I feel like we do need to talk about X-Force because that is a weird, cool book.
Okay, I'll let you lead because I've only read like the first 4 or 5 issues, and then I just kind of moved on because I was just like, there's a lot of books in this line.
It's important. I feel like it's a capital I important book because it's fucked up. Like Beast is super dark beast. He's just, yeah.
Are you trying to avoid spoilers?
Well, no, but I saw him described. David Uzumeri described him as the Henry Kissinger of the Marvel universe or like the X-Men universe. He's just like kind of vile and willing to make so many moral sacrifices for the quote unquote like greater good or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fascinating. That book is honestly even more tied to Benjamin Percy's Green Arrow in terms of like kind of like evil secret societies that are basically running global hate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do dig that book. There's really fucked up villains. Like they're doing really like weird body horror stuff with villains in that book that I find pretty compelling, honestly. Like there's good action sequences. I wish that who's rotating on that? It's Oscar Bazaldua who's rotating with Joshua Cassara, who I really like. Like I like the main art for sure. But like there's it's not like as detailed. I don't know quite how to describe it. Like kind of a more chunky line quality to Oscar Basaldua's art that is just it feels like a little flatter, and I don't like it as much. But that's kind of nitpicking. Whatever.
Sure.
It's weird though. It's a weird kind of messy one, and like it's very morally messy in a way that I think is very valuable.
I just think it's such an interesting line because I feel like, Marauders, a book that you and I would like, let's agree that we'd probably both put it at top 2.
Yep.
It seems, I've seen people say that they hate it. And like, I honestly don't even understand how you could. It's like, it's such a good book.
If you don't like that Kate Pride characterization, you're not going to like that book at all. Like, and I am very much, I've accepted that she is an extremely malleable character.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of baked into her, where she always was changing her identity. And I think that writers take advantage of that all the time. It can feel very wish fulfillment-y, especially for like straight male writers. But at the same time, like, she's cool right now. I'm really enjoying Kate Pride, Captain Kate.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean,
she's really fun.
It's just interesting because it seems like even within the line, it's like there's a lot of polarization across the line. And I find, I mean, maybe that's just a product of X-Men. Maybe that's just a product of like comic fans. But I feel like the heat has continued for that broader line. But it is kind of interesting because it seems like, I don't know, for me, I started off reading everything. And I've given like, I think every single series at least one issue. I don't get any advances whatsoever. And so I'm like having to pick these up, and I'm just making choices based off of like, do I really want to keep spending like $3.99 on like Excalibur or X-Force? Not so much. I mean, like some of those choices are really easy, like Fallen Angels. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, especially considering the fact that like, X of Swords or 10 of Swords or whatever the hell you want to call it is like this 24-part beast. And like,
you're going to have to read everything for.
And I'm going to read everything for it happily. I'm excited for the event. I mean, where are you at on that? Are you hype or no hype?
Hype, for sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier today. I was like, it just looks like Soul Calibur X. But, like, I'm into that. Like, I'm absolutely cool with that. Like, and if you can give me good fight comics, I'm, like, I literally just said good action sequences will do so much to make me enjoy something.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it's interesting. That was the first mention you've had of Excalibur this entire time. And it looks like X of Swords is coming directly out of Excalibur.
Right.
So, like, if we're not... I mean, and I like Excalibur, but, like, I like Excalibur. I don't love Excalibur.
Mm-hmm.
I like it for kind of its fantasy makeover of the X-Men and the magic-y stuff. But there's something about that team, or there's something about it that's not quite gelling for me. And New Mutants is the same way.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I really just don't like Ed Brisson's X-Men writing. Like, it doesn't do anything for me at all. And unfortunately, it was between those Hickman issues that I was obsessed with.
Oh my God, those were so good.
Absolutely loved those batshit crazy issues. Truly Hickman doing his, what was his book called that he did? One of his very first Marvel books. It was like Mojo Madness or something.
I don't even remember that.
It was a digital only book, and it's like him and Nick Pitarra, I'm pretty sure, before Manhattan Projects, or like some other. I'm going to see if I can find some Marvel Unlimited. But it's like he did a Sam and Bobby book that was just like kind of madcap, wild stuff.
He really loves Sam and Bobby. I mean, it's just like, it's an interesting constant theme in his Marvel career that he just like elevates those dudes, but they are so fun. I don't know. I mean, I love those New Mutants issues. My big problem with the New Mutants book that's going outside of that is like, some of the art for me on some of the X-Men books has just not got me. Like Flaviano, maybe fine for what he's trying to do, but it just doesn't work for me. And I don't know why. I have a really hard time getting over that. I think that, does it bother you at all? Like, I know some people want like the larger story to keep going forward. It's like you have this Moira carrot constantly going. Does that stuff bother you, or is it just like it's just going to get there when it gets there?
Oh, it'll get there when it gets there, please. I mean, we're in year one. We just finished year one of this comic. I mean, I would love it if Hickman was on this book for 10 years. Like, if we could keep this momentum going and do cool stuff regularly and bring in cool creators to launch, I don't know, some magic series or something. Like, give me all the solo books in Krakoa. I'm into it. Like, start giving me the mini-series. I mean, who knows what the comic industry looks like. Give me some original graphic novels set in Krakoa. Give me some prestige format. I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, give me an original graphic novel. I think I already said that.
Do Black Label, but with the X-Men.
Yeah, just like, give me all of it. Like, I'm into it. And I mean, if they end up getting really bad, which, of course, this is X-Men we're talking about, it can easily go south, then, like, new blood. But right now, I'm still excited about the new books that are coming. And let's not forget, Children of the Atom, #1, is a red issue. It was highlighted red. We don't know what the hell's in that book. It's the only one that's been read since House and Powers ended. And what? You're just going to leave that dangling for us? Truly like the worst tease after quarantine. It was like, yeah, y'all, you're dealing with COVID. Also, this is a red issue. It's not going to be solicited until 2022 or whatever. Get ready.
What was more upsetting to people, that or Juggernaut being on one of the checklists? Because it seemed like people were really annoyed about that. And I was just like, whatever. It's just like vaguely X-Men related.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to move on from the X-Men stuff.
We do.
Okay, we could go on forever. All right, let's move on to Al Ewing really quick. So, okay, I'm not going to talk about Empire to start with. I'm going to make you make a choice. Immortal Hulk or Guardians right now. I know you love Guardians. Does it rival Immortal Hulk yet?
We're going to go with Guardians first because I've talked about Immortal Hulk in the Superhero State of the Union, and I don't think I have new things to say. I think that,
but I mean, personally, which one do you prefer?
Oh, I can't choose. Please don't.
They're so different. They're so different. Okay,
I need Hulk. The thing is, I need Hulk to survive at this point. Like he put in the end of one of the issues, he was like, "COVID sucks. Hopefully, these nightmares will make you feel better." They do. I need Hulk. Like whatever awful thing happens to Hulk and friends makes me feel better about my life right now. But you know what? That's also Guardians.
Well, in Guardians it's really interesting because, okay, so...
Guardians is actually healing.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is about that. Although the Nova one was not exactly the... I mean, it's kind of...
It is. It's absolutely. It's about, like, starting therapy.
Yeah, exactly. He's feeling better by the end of it, too. So that's good. His meeting with Gamora, not so good. But
Gamora.
I do think it's really interesting. Like, I'm not even really... I unless you want to talk about Empire, I'm not really looking in to talk about that. But I think it's really fascinating because, you know, most of the time... Okay, so let's talk about, like, back in the day, let's say the Bendis era, like 2005 to 2010, all the comics, like the New Avengers and Mighty Avengers and all the different stuff that's going on, all built to events. And then you'd have like Civil War and there'd be this huge thing and then it would lead into like something different. And I think it's interesting because to me, it seems like in a lot of ways, Empire was less about the thing that was built up to, because it was certainly not built up to unless you count Incoming, which I hardly do. And it really, like, to me, it seems like for Al, it seems like it's setting up that storyline that he's going to do in Guardians, where it's taking place at like this galactic peace summit. What's happening next with like this New World Order thing? And like, I can't wait for those next 2 issues. Have you read about those at all?
I just read at the end of issue 6, the next time on, and it sounded like the coolest shit ever. It's going to be Novar.
Yeah.
Going crazy.
Well, and basically, like, I think issues 7 and 8 are effectively going to be about like making the cosmic universe smaller, and so
there's
like,
going to be the X-Men #4 for Marvel Cosmic.
Exactly. Yeah, and I love that, and because like I think, you know, I'm not, again, I don't think every comic should necessarily have a quote unquote purpose. I'm like the guy who's like ride or die for the unbeatable Squirrel Girl forever, but I think that Guardians like seems like it has it's just got this really great vibe to it, and it has a really great identity, and it makes it feel like such an essential book to Marvel right now.
Yeah, there are a couple things that I'm seriously loving about Guardians. First, Juan Cabal.
Oh my god.
Absolutely. First off, I mean, liked him for years or whatever, because he did that Elektra book that like really just, I don't think anybody read that Elektra book, but like that was his first Marvel book, I want to say, and it was really solid. And then All New Wolverine, he absolutely kills that. Or no, that was X-23. But
no, he did All New Wolverine.
He did All New Wolverine as well. He did.
There was also David Lopez on there, but yeah.
Yeah, because he did one arc of that. Oh yeah, he did the Daken arc. Oh my god, that was so good. Oh, for DC, we'll talk about Tom Taylor. Yeah, but no, he's so good, and that Moondragon issue was so good. Like it's Ewing at his best. where you give him, I don't want to deal with Moondragon continuity, especially because I literally have no idea who this other Moondragon is. I didn't read those comics.
Didn't it come from like Infinity Warps or something?
I'm pretty sure it's an Infinity Warper, like whatever. What was that comic even called? It wasn't called Infinity Warps. Was it just Infinity War?
I don't remember. No, there was the Infinity Warps, and it stemmed out of another book, and I can't
Infinity something, though. We literally don't even know what it was called, and it was Marvel's event last year, because it was at the same time as Hickman. So, like, nobody gave a shit.
No, that was 2018. It was 2018. Infinity Countdown.
Oh, God.
Infinity Countdown.
No.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Time means nothing, but I know. Gross. Ew.
You're so upset right now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you ever read Secret Warps?
No. You're just saying words at this point, Oliver.
Oh my God. This is a public service announcement for everybody listening. If you have Marvel Unlimited, you need to read Secret Warps. It's the 5-issue Al Ewing 5th week event that was, I think, February of 2019 or like early 2019. And so Secret Warps was Marvel characters get amalgamized or whatever, and they get
I remember
mashed
that.
Up.
Yeah.
So he goes ballistic. Every issue, we're getting exponentially new numbers of warped characters until the end. It's like everybody in the Marvel universe has been warped. It is absolutely batshit crazy. I had the best time. I want to read it again, honestly. It was so fun. No one read this comic. Like, no one knows that this book even exists, I feel. It is so wild. Just a true delight. Al Ewing, he is a madman. And that is the energy that I want. It's the energy that Empire did not give me, and I'm bitter about it. Because Empire should have been amazing. It was his big, like, crossover summer blockbuster event, and he got tethered to a piece of shit story that was so boring. Just unbelievably boring. We don't have to even spend time on Empire, because who cares? There are better Al Ewing books that we can talk about. And, like, I honestly feel like Guardians is giving us exactly what Fantastic Four should be giving us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the thing is, I feel so much more invested in the Guardians ensemble after 6 issues versus, I mean, I think I've read maybe 10 issues of Slott's Fantastic Four, and that's after reading, like, the opening arc, which I thought was dog shit, and then checking in after every so often, and still not digging it. So, like,
I'm not gonna lie, I honestly don't remember if I even read the first issue of Fantastic Four.
They're bad. It was bad. I mean, I got it for Sarah Kelly. She's amazing, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. Okay, so obviously Immortal Hulk, Guardians, and X-Men we're all in on. But it is interesting. Somebody threw out the idea that like the broader line, like is this like the lowest time for like the Avengers stuff and Amazing Spider-Man and everything like that. And it is really weird that, like, okay, so there's 2 problems I've often had in like the post Secret Wars era, 2015 Secret Wars era of Marvel, is like a lot of it feels incohesive. It doesn't really feel like it's like a set universe anymore. It feels like very all over the place. And then the other thing is it's just like a lot of it is pretty forgettable. And I don't know if that's just me or if that's, I don't know. I mean, like, it seems weird that like a lot of the flagships like Fantastic Four and like even Avengers to a certain degree are like fine at best, but kind of like easy to ignore. Like, how do you feel about Marvel's like broader universe outside the X-Men? Like, do you feel like it's in good shape, or do you think it's just like there's only pockets?
It's not in good shape. I think that, like, it kind of sucks because I liked Donny Cates stuff early on, but like Thor, completely uninspired, extremely boring. Like, I was like kind of wildly disappointed by his Thor issues. Fallen off of all the Venom stuff completely. Could give less of a shit about the King in Black.
The weird thing about Thor feels like a condensed version of a lot of Jason Aaron's plot points.
Absolutely, yes. And it was weird. Like, it was so boring. I was like, really? Your big bad is Giant Cloud of Black? Like, this is not good. And then kill Galactus for it? No, thank you. Like, first off, like I mentioned in the piece that I wrote, it's like there's a ticking, like a countdown every time anything big happens. It's like, when is this just going to get like rewound? And that clock was at like 30 seconds when Galactus died in Thor. I was like, cool, this will last for a year max.
Yeah.
Like Galactus is going to be back in 3 months.
Yeah. Well, and it's really weird too, because like I'm right there with you. Like there's a lot of stuff that Donnie's done that I really like. I really like the Thanos stuff.
Yes, me too.
It was really good. I actually like the Cosmic Ghost Rider miniseries that he did. It was really fun. But
love Dylan Burnett.
Yeah, Dylan Burnett's awesome. But the interesting thing is like, I feel like as his star has risen, and this isn't me, like this isn't a backlash thing. It's like I talk to retailers and like Venom issues sell out like instantaneously. So they can, and I think people are reselling them because they like everything he touches is like gold right now. And then there's like this, apparently he's making Wraith a thing again from like Annihilation Conquest, which blows my mind. And you know, I look at that and it's like, it's interesting because my interest has kind of waned as we've went along. Like I got off Venom like a while ago, around Absolute Carnage, actually, when Donnie and Ryan Stegman stepped out. And like, I just like the Thor stuff. I love Nick Klein and Matt Wilson, but like beyond that, it's kind of a tough read. And I don't know. I mean, it's really weird because he feels like he's becoming more and more like close to maybe their top writer. And I don't know about that direction. I don't know.
I mean, if he sells comics, like that's good, I guess. But like, it's, the Venom stuff does nothing for me. And like the King in Black feels so kind of just derivative. I don't
like Noel. It's just like, like even Silver
like,
Surfer
Black. What are you
Black.
Saying? I was like, what are you saying? You
don't
like Noel? I was like, no, I get it. You don't like Canole or whatever. Fuck.
I think it's pronounced Noel. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. But it's like, it's not a great villain name either. Like,
yeah.
No. Cool.
It's just, yeah, awesome. It's really weird. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, the funny thing is there's some stuff in there. Okay, so really quick, like, are there any like of those core, like, not just core books, but like the non-X-Men side of stuff that people don't really talk a lot about that you actually enjoy? Like, is there something on the periphery that maybe is working for you?
You're saying that, and I'm like, I literally don't even know, because I'm like, Captain America, that book got bad. That book, year one of Coates' Captain America, chef's kiss, beautiful.
Once
year
the art
two,
dropped off. The art dropped off.
What
bad.
The fuck? The art dropped off so bad, and then it ghostwritten or something. The writing got real bad, really bad. Steve's voice got weird in that book. Like, I do not enjoy it anymore. Like, I do not jive with it anymore. And it was it was like issue 12 to 13, complete change. Do not like this book anymore. So, Captain America, not doing it for me. Thor, not doing it for me. Oh God, Iron Man. I don't even know. There was the Iron Man 2020. I think I read 5 issues of Slott's Iron Man. I gave it a shot. And then I never went back.
Has the Cantwell book started yet?
Not yet, but
you read it already?
No, I haven't read it,
okay.
But I'm nervous because I read a few issues of Doctor Doom and it gave me Tom King light in a way that I really did not want to read at all. Salvador Larroca, though, is also not my favorite. So, like, I want to say 2 issues, and it seemed like there were interesting ideas, but the execution kind of felt a little dusty, really, honestly, just because of Tom King. Mm-hmm. Like, it just had that vibe to it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read this.
Yeah.
I like Cafu a lot.
I like Cafu a lot, too.
I don't love Frank Darmada, though. He's coloring it. So,
you know, what's interesting is, like, somebody actually, God, I'm trying to remember how it came up, but, I was writing in my Avengers piece, I was talking about, like, you know, what could possibly get Avengers and, like, that side of the world back in action for me, and I was like, what if they did an Avengers, like, House of X, Powers of 10, and it was Al Ewing writing, and it was Juan Cabal, and it was Cafu as, like, the Pepe Larraz and the RB Silva. Because I feel like there's, like, some overlap stylistically between them. Cafu, honestly, I think Marvel has a lot more artistic depth than people give them credit for right now. There's a lot of really good people working on them. And a lot of them are not in the X-Men books, but what are you gonna do? But I will say that one book that I'll rep for is a lot better than people would give it credit for. Is I really like Valkyrie. It's done now, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Finished. I didn't know that it was canceled.
Well, I mean, and here's the weird thing: it's done, but it's coming back in King in Black, and I don't know why. Like Black Cat was canceled for like 3 months, and now it's like uncanceled, and it's back in December as part of King in Black. I'm like, what does Black Cat have to do with King in Black? I have no idea. I guess we'll find out.
Did you see that they announced a Kurt Busiek, Benjamin Dewey, Namor book?
You're right.
King in Black. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's I mean, I love Ben Dewey, so I'm in support of that, but at the same time it's very strange. I don't strange. King in Black is being positioned as this gigantic event, and I just don't. I'm like, I wasn't planning on reading it. I don't know.
I'm not planning on reading the main thing or whatever. I'll read whatever cool stuff
comes out of it
for sure, but like,
yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to, because like you mentioned Phoenix earlier, like there's going to be there's a Phoenix storyline coming up in Avengers, and then it's gonna be like the 1 million BC Phoenix even, and so then I feel like I have this like weird feeling that there's gonna be a bit of a reset coming after King in Black, but I don't know. I mean, hopefully between now and then, at the very least, we'll actually find out what the hell's going on with Black Panther or Runaways.
Oh, Black Panther's ending, so I mean, they've got that. Like,
but why aren't they just ending it?
Yeah,
give me more Space Panther.
They already announced that it's over. Like, Coates is leaving.
Yeah, but he's got 3 more issues. Let me read those 3 issues.
It'll happen. I'm more mad about Runaways. I'm like, where the hell's my Runaways? Like, they're about to go to issue 100. Like, where are my Runaways? But we have forgotten to talk about one of Marvel's best books, which, as bad as Spider-Man is, Daredevil is.
Oh yeah,
so
Daredevil's amazing. Man, I can't believe I didn't have that on
the
list.
We forgot about Daredevil.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
Spider-Man is so boring. I can't read Spider-Man. I've tried it. Like, there's been like 50 issues of Spider-Man. I've tried it. I can't get into it. I love Superior Foes. This book does literally nothing for me.
Sure.
So like, Daredevil on the complete other side. It's interesting to have 2 back to basics books that are, one of them feels back to basics, but also moving forward. Mm-hmm. That's what Ewing does so well. He'll take you back to basics, but he's only taking you back to basics because he needs you to know what the foundation is so he can build on it again. Mm-hmm. Like, and he wants you to know what his foundation is for the characters. And he normally has a really interesting angle. Like, we jumped over it, but I cannot wait until we get back to Peter Quill, because he's not dead. He's absolutely going to be going on the original Star-Lord journey that, who created him? Is that Mark Grunwald?
No.
Steve, is that, shit. Whoever
it was Al Milgrom and somebody else. Obviously there'd be, Steve Englehart and Steve Gann.
Steve Englehart.
Yeah.
So, like, he had originally planned for this whole, like, Peter Quill goes on a interplanetary odyssey based on the Greek gods, because the planets are named after the gods. And Ewing literally opened his Guardians book with the new gods, like the new Zeus and all that stuff. So it seems like the perfect opportunity for him to do kind of a quintessential Peter Quill story that is taking us back to the idea that his creators never got the chance to do.
Mm-hmm. That's extremely Al Ewing. Can I just say really quick that I find it hilarious that you're like, let's talk about Daredevil, but now Al Ewing.
Sorry, Daredevil's really good. It's so good. I'm mad that he's still, the genie is in the bottle with his secret identity. But did you read the annual?
Yeah. The brother.
So fun.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this is what I come to superhero comics for.
I think Chip is actually one of Marvel's best, like very best writers. Like I would put him in like top 3, probably. I mean, currently like top 3 probably. And he, like, the stuff he's doing there is so good. And Marco Caqueto, and God, it's Jorge Fornes is obviously off the book because he's busy doing a Rorschach book. but like those two are like.
But Mike Hawthorne's about to join it as the regular artist.
Regular? No more Marco?
I think he's. Well, if anything, they're going to be alternating.
Okay,
like, he's joining as like for like a multi-arc or like multi-issue arc. Like they not, at least on his Instagram, he was talking about it. So, and I'm down for that. I like his art a lot.
Yeah, I like Mike, and he did a little bit on the annual too, didn't he? No, he didn't. He just said no.
No,
But I mean, that book is so good. It's like you said, it's like the perfect mix of back to basics, and also looking forward and like finding new angles. And I really like God, what are their names? The Stromwinds, like the brothers.
Stromwinds,
Oh,
they were good.
They're
Really
like
villains.
the fact that they are like actually owning Wilson Fisk is like such an interesting turn. But yeah, I love that. That book is absolutely fantastic. Now,
Amazing
okay,
Fisk book.
let's
Fisk is the main character for that. Sorry.
Yeah, you could say that. So before we move on to DC, because we got to do that here soon. Phil CV artist asks, like, what has impressed you? Like, has there been a comic that has impressed you that's doing something new, different, or fresh, like with superhero stuff? And you can do Marvel or DC on this. I have two right off the top.
You go first, because I'm going to need a second.
Okay, so like there's. We already talked about one of them. I really love the episodic nature of X-Men. Like the fact that like Jonathan Hickman came on and he decided to do a flagship book that completely like goes away from the extreme serialized nature of superhero comics to a certain degree is really, really like awesome to me, because it's like, I don't know. I feel like superhero comics needs more counter programming, and it being different feels so much better. I don't know. It just makes it work so much more. And then on top of that, this is something that Al has done on Guardians too, and I don't know if it's strictly like this is what Al's doing, or if it's the editorial team has learned something from doing Immortal Hulk. But the fact that they're keeping Juan Cabal fresh by doing 2 issues on, 1 issue off, like they were doing with Joe Bennett on Immortal Hulk, is really, really smart. And honestly, like the fact that they're just doing that on like the Al Ewing issues, and it's not even just the fact that it's alternating artists; it's the fact that it's like giving a very specific reason for bringing on, like, you know, for example, like let's say, was it Ryan Bodenheim that did the leader issue? No, who did the leader issue?
No, the leader issue was Butch Geist.
It was Butch Geist. Yeah, exactly. And that, honestly, I love that issue. That was one of my favorite issues of the year.
Oh, wow. That was a weird issue.
I loved it.
That was such a he admitted, he was like, this is going to be a real deep continuity dive, guys. So
I just love the fact that like he was so referential to the fact that he's died so many times. Like that just felt really, I don't know. I loved how he was dealing with that. So anyways, those are my two. You got anything?
Yes, but honestly, I think both. Well, one of them might not be Marvel or DC.
Do it.
But with a
is it self-published?
Significant pedigree. It's not self-published. Well, my first Far Sector.
Oh yeah,
love Far Sector. We'll talk about it more. I think that Young Animal was something that ahead of its time for sure. I feel like Young Animal was in the wrong format. It should have been original graphic novels. But also, that book is technically a Black Label book now, I guess.
Is it?
I don't know.
It still says Young Animal on it. The most recent issue said that, yeah.
I'm glad that you know, because I'm not paying attention. It's too confusing at this point. Yeah. I really love Far Sector. That book turned out to be like extremely prescient as well.
Yeah.
Like very, very timely.
Unbelievably so.
Just incredible story. Unbelievable creative team. Everybody firing on all cylinders. Really trusting a creative team to do something new with an established IP. And like, this is what DC is doing really well right now. Like they're handing their stuff over to people that have a really distinct vision, and they have the freedom to do what they want to do with it, because they're telling stuff out of continuity, and they're making that's almost becoming the baseline, which I'm really liking.
I
want all of it to be out of continuity, honestly. Fuck the main line. Like, it's not good. It's not interesting to me anymore. Like, it doesn't captivate me anymore. When I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yes, that was interesting to me. And like, I mean, I'm being selfish right now. I'm saying what's good to me. But at the same time, like, these stories, I don't feel like they're going to like be adored for in a decade or whatever, the way that some of these graphic novels for younger readers are going to be like really held up as like seminal works for a generation. I think Harley Quinn Breaking Glass is going to reach an incredible amount of readers, and like that will do more for the industry than 1 million metal books.
We might get them though.
Well, yeah.
So what was the other Far Sector, and what was the other fresh one? Was it the YA stuff?
I think I'm gonna go with Adventure Man.
Oh, I love it.
From Image.
I love it.
I'm so into Adventure Man. So I've kind of, I mean, like I love Matt Fraction. I'm a huge Hawkeye fan. Like, I mean, I'm a big fan of his, but I really have fallen off. Like, I fell off Sex Criminals. I'm about 14 issues behind or something, like a lot of issues behind on Sex Criminals. Like, so it was nice to have him in this family friendly mode that, God, the Dodsons
so good.
Kill it on that book. Unbelievably gorgeous book. The coloring is so pretty. Like it just looks so nice. I like how that book has a very European feel. I wish, like, I want it to be printed in like those big thin hardcovers. The way that, like, I feel like Terry Dodson had a creator-owned Image book. It was called Red Something, and it was printed like that kind of European style, oversized hardcover.
I think it was just Red One.
Red One.
Yeah, it was Red One.
I was thinking like Red 5, but I think that's like isn't that a publisher or something?
It's Red One. Red 5 is a publisher, yeah.
Yeah. I really like Adventure Man. I think that's a really fun exploration of like pulpy Golden Age style superheroics with what I expect from a modern comic, which is a kind of like sprawling, inclusive cast.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
You know, it's one thing I really love about the book. I love that it doesn't feel I mean, it's going to explain it, but it doesn't feel the need to explain itself when like all of a sudden the main character grows like 15 inches or whatever. It's just like everyone was like, what the hell is going on? And she's like, I feel great. Like, and like the entire third issue where she just like had just engaged.
So fun.
I mean, it's so fun. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's such a, I mean, it's very on the nose, but it's like such a perfect adventure book. There's just, it's pure entertainment. I love it. It's great. Well, okay. So let's go on to DC. What is working best for you at DC right now?
Anything outside of the main line.
Exactly the same.
That's like, it's not even me necessarily shitting on the main line, but actually I think I am. I'm trying to think about like, what is a main DC book? Oh, Suicide Squad. But even that is canceled.
Right.
So like, woohoo, yay. The book that I really, really was digging in the main DC line that I thought was going to have some sort of impact as well. Guess not.
Yeah.
Like what's going on with Ted Kord in that book? Because I'm actually interested in this heel turn, and I shouldn't be, because I kind of like white bread, nerdy, blue Power Ranger Ted Kord. So like having him be more of a Lex Luthor-y type, I feel like there's like a single issue there that we're not going to get. Maybe it's like a Michael Lark drawn issue or something that gives us a connective tissue between what happens in, what's the issue where he gets shot? Was that called Countdown?
Are you talking about the Countdown or the 80?
That's Countdown to Infinite Crisis. Yeah. So like something that gives us the connective tissue there, but like, I don't need that. I'm not going to get it probably at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, Tom Taylor is working for me a bunch. I mean, I should never have liked Injustice as much as I did. That's kind of the like darkening of a superhero universe that I'm kind of naturally opposed to. I don't like to see that. I don't like to see things thrown into like a more negative context. And yet, like, he made that book fun. He made it fun, and he made it about like kind of persevering through that, and that's what Deceased is as well.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a big piece on Deceased, and like this one person, like, you know, I it's totally fair. You know, they were not happy about Deceased, and they were like, they couldn't believe that I called Deceased a hopeful book. But I actually think in parts that Deceased is extremely hopeful. Like, have you been reading Hope at World's End?
I read all the Deceased stuff. I'm really into it.
I love Deceased, but that third one where it was Wally West centric, and they had like the Max Mercury and like Bart Allen stuff, like that was such a like heartfelt. I mean, like, okay, so this is like a really weird. I wrote about this in my Deceased write up, but Tom Taylor has this really unique gift of somehow making all of his stuff feel out of continuity while also working off of all of continuity that has ever existed. Like that was perfect. That was a perfect follow-up to Mark Waid and Humberto Ramos's run on Impulse. It was like exactly what anybody who ever read that comic wanted from Bart Allen and Max Mercury's like final moments. And they gave it to us in this random 99-cent digital comic that was 14 screens long, and it's perfect. And it's like, I don't know how he does it. He is so good.
Yeah, he's really just like super good. I think a lot about his Alfred Batman Annual #3. Did you ever read that issue?
It's so good.
So good. I will not forgive Tom King for killing Alfred. Like, you don't. First off, I mean, you're already on my shit list for Heroes in Crisis. Like, I mean, are you reading Strange Event, or it's called Strange Adventures?
Strange Adventures, yeah, I am.
I literally, yeah, like I haven't read a single issue of it. I really have a hard time picking it up to read it at all.
Doc Shaner is so good.
Oh, trust me.
I love Mitch too, but I mean, Doc Shaner is like very much my jam.
I'm obsessed with Flash Gordon. I love his artwork. I have zero interest in reading this book. Like, Heroes in Crisis, I thought was a genuine travesty. I thought it was one of the worst superhero events that I've ever read. It felt offensive. Like, Empire, harmless. Like,
it's a nothing burger.
Metal, silly, stupid fun. Like, Heroes in Crisis felt like it was trying to say something, and it said it badly.
Yeah, I mean, Strange Adventures is interesting because it's 5 issues. 5 issues in. I haven't read the 5 issues in. I haven't read the 5th one yet because like my shop had no comics from DC for 2 weeks because Lunar rules. But anyways, so that finally came in. But like, I love the art in it, and Tom King's Mr. Terrific is fantastic. But the story has a lot of the stuff in it that I don't really like Tom King's his perspective on. I feel like
I've read it. I feel like I've read this book even though I haven't opened a single page of it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually only read the first 2 issues of Heroes in Crisis. Sometimes I think about going back and reading it. I actually looked at it on Comixology to see if it was discounted, and it was not. And I was like, I'm not paying full price for that. I'm
looking out for you right now. Don't do that. Whatever this impulse is, you need to put it away.
but okay, let's go back to Tom Taylor, because like I think that, you know, when I wrote down what's working best for me at DC, I wrote literally, for me, all the stuff that's out of continuity or barely in it. And you know, it is like, I don't know what it is about Tom Taylor that, like, my insinuation by this is going to sound like an insult to everybody else, but there's just something that like Taylor grasps about making superhero stories dark without making you mired in it, and also working in continuity but without making it exclusionary. And like, I feel like most, like, the in continuity stuff that I've read from DC, unless you include like Jimmy Olsen, which is in continuity in a very very broad sense of that word, it's like not that many other books really understand that, or at least understand it in the sense that like you can see it on the page. And that's the thing that bothers me about DC's mainline stuff. I love like Black Label, great. I really love Wonder Woman Dead Earth. I actually think that in a lot of ways is like, I've never been a huge Wonder Woman fan, not because I don't like the character, but because there was never like that one story I could point to and be like, this is a really interesting take that makes me better appreciate the character. And I feel like Daniel got there. I actually really like Joker Killer Smile. I can't believe I'm going to say that. Did you read it? I haven't
read it.
Oh, no. I don't like the Joker. And it's barely about the Joker. Oh,
I have real Joker issues, but we're probably going to talk about 3 Jokers. But going back to Dead Earth, yeah, I remember, I don't remember when I was talking to Daniel, but we go to the same comic shop, so I see him every so often.
Sure.
But he told me that he never liked the way that like Wonder Woman was like drawn. Like, she was never drawn in a way that he found appealing. So it's really interesting seeing the way that he draws her, which is beat up usually. Like, her face is busted most of the time. It's like not sexy in any way. Like, and the thing is, I would say 95% of Wonder Woman artists are going to make it sexy in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going to arch that back a little bit. They're going to make the breasts pop out. They're going to do something that is slightly sexualized, even if it's a little bit. That's going to happen. And I feel like Daniel never, ever did that on the page, which was... it was refreshing. And that book is crazy. It was hilarious because metal, like, please, nothing you do is going to be as metal as that cover of her swinging into like the Kraken's mouth, swinging Superman's spine on the golden lasso with his head at the end of it like a mace.
What about like, what about the double page spread where Pegasus is coming with Cheetah on her back and like coming to save the day as like one of
lightning or whatever?
Oh my god! I mean, like, seriously, it was just like immediately Dio started playing in my head as soon as I saw that.
Oh, I mean, that's the thing with him all the time. Murder Falcon music, like, you hear it, you can hear his art, and like, he's such a good sound effects guy too. But I mean, that was Andy Corey, right?
Yeah,
he edited that. I mean, they fucked up, like, because he got laid off.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's really interesting.
He was responsible for so many really interesting books, and no.
Well, and that's actually the funny thing is Black Label in a broader sense. Like, I just read the final issue of Plunge last night. I love Plunge. I love Dollhouse Family. I'm a huge Carrie Ann Gross person.
Yeah.
And I just bought the hardcover for Basket Full of Heads. I haven't read that yet.
So cool. But all of those books were really cool.
But I mean, like, Black Label in general, it's like, if that was what DC was like, I'd be reading way more DC. And it's interesting because, like, I'm honestly trying to think of what mainline books I'm actually reading right now, because I was reading Wonder Comic stuff. I was reading Dial H, which I loved. I was reading Wonder Twins, which I actually really enjoyed as well. I've read most of the Bendis stuff. I haven't caught up lately for like Superman and Action Comics and Legion. Like there's a lot of good stuff in there. They're good. Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. But then past that, it's like, I mean, Far Sector, love Far Sector. I just, like, honestly, it's like I don't really have a lot of interest outside of those main books.
Yeah, Batman is so boring to me right now.
I've heard really mixed things on that. Like, I've heard some say that it's revitalized by the fact it has this much more super heroic energy to it after like King.
But yeah, those, it's like two flavors that I don't really want to go from one to the next. Honestly, like, I don't really jive with Tynion's writings, so. I love Jorge Jimenez, so that kind of breaks my heart. Like, I love his artwork, but I mean, he's just been kind of saddled to writers that, and it's like, I don't dislike Scott Snyder in any way. Like, I really like Scott as a writer, but like his Justice League, I fell off of. I feel like all of these books are getting so mired in plot. It's the New 52 problem of plot over character. Like, the reason I love You Brought Me the Ocean is because I got character from that book.
Right.
Like, I'm getting character from these YA books, from these middle grade books, from these Black Label books, because it's a creator getting 4 issues. In those 4 issues, you tell a complete story. You make us live in that world. You make us feel it. And then you're done. Like, instead, I'm sitting here reading about the Justice League. Okay, cool. The Justice Society's here. I could give less of a shit. And I love the Justice Society. Didn't care. Like, what was the name? Perpetua or whatever? Like, I don't care about this stuff anymore, which is crazy because I'm obsessed with Immortal Hulk. And that book is all crazy cosmic shit, but it's so rooted in, honestly, Bruce Banner's messy mess in the way that, like, DC stuff isn't. And like, why do we love Far Sector? We love her because Sojourner is an amazing lead character. N.K. Jemisin has done, and Jamal Campbell.
I was going to say
that world is unbelievably defined. We got 5 issues before we got an origin for her. Dropped us in. We didn't know shit about this character, and immediately captivating because we got to live in her life. We got to see her in her alien apartment making alien coffee or whatever with her cool AI. Like, this is what I want. Like, I don't want, and the thing is, I don't think we want what most superhero people want, honestly. Like, people don't want to read, like, have you seen Alex DeCampi's Nice Day Wanda stuff? Where it's like, like, people don't want that, but, like, all I want is to read Runaways, and there's no action. I want it to literally be pages and pages of them sitting, and occasionally they fly, but it's because they fly to go get a chili dog. Like, it's Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, but okay, so I have a radical thought. Okay, I think that all the stuff we're talking about, whether we're talking about the YA stuff, or if we're talking about Black Label, or if we're talking about Deceased, or if we're talking about the X-Men, or Immortal Hulk, or, you know, Guardians even, they all have overlap in the sense that instead of trying to go bigger and trying to, like, give us everything, they're trying to make it smaller, and they're trying to give us, like, why this stuff matters to these characters. And I think it's less about, like, going to get a hot dog, and it's more about just, like, why does this matter to these people, and, like, making them actually feel like people. In a way, like, I mean, like, honestly, like, you mentioned X-Men 4 earlier. That is honestly one of the best comics I've read in, like, the last 2 years. And it is literally, for the most part, outside of, like, Gorgon being fucking spectacular.
So good.
Is basically just, like, a bunch of really, like, intense and powerful people sitting at a table continuously threatening each other as they eat dinner. And that's all it is. And it's spectacular. I mean, like, seriously, like, that line where Apocalypse talks about, like, you know, what was it? Like, do you remember what happened to, God, I don't even remember what the location was. And they're like, no, what happened? He's like, I happened to it. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, it's just that's amazing.
Well, we're just going to talk about X-Men now. Sorry, DC. But no, it's a thing because I think about my number one X-Men issue is X-Men number 7. The Crucible. Like,
so good.
Talk about big ideas, because you know what, you can do the big shit, like, but it needs to be rooted in something. And that issue, that's Paige, right? Paige Guthrie.
Yep.
Like, we don't see a bunch. Is it a different one?
I think it's the other sister, isn't it?
Melody. It's Melody.
Yeah.
Paige's Husk. Sorry.
Paige's Husk.
It's definitely not Paige. Oh God, phew. Stupid fucking Guthries, too many of them. I'm shocked that I know Melody Guthrie. Damn, this is what brain rot is. Okay.
I don't know if that's brain rot or, like, you just have an excellent memory. I feel like it's the opposite of brain rot.
It's the no, it's a weird mutant version of it. That issue, unbelievable. And, like, we get all the great Pretender stuff with Wanda. Like, there's a way to build dread and, like, anticipation for these big universe-changing moments that I don't think a lot of DC creators really tapped into, except for, honestly, like, Tom Taylor.
Yeah, Tom Taylor is just, like...
He's so good at that. Like, Deceased was all of that until... I mean, it was that for one issue, and then all hell breaks loose. But... Did
you read Unkillables?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, seriously, like, tree lobsters. Really tree lobsters. I mean, it's outrageous. Like, that... I don't know. It's like, that whole thing, like, he made me care about...
the humor.
Yeah, but I mean, beyond that, he made me care. Like, I was so invested in Solomon Grundy and, like, the Creeper having relationships with these children. And I'm like, I am literally talking about a character called the Creeper having a relationship.
Well, I love the Creeper. I literally have a Creeper action figure from his Batman the Animated Series.
There you go.
Appearance. I really love the Creeper. So, like, and that's the thing with Tom Taylor. Like, Injustice 2, that is the best Justice League story of the last 10 years. Easily, I would say. That is not a
tough competition, though, unfortunately.
Not a lot of tough competition at all. It's like, what? I mean, I would put, like, Cy Spurrier's 5 issues that he just did a couple months ago in, like, the top 5. So, you know, not the best.
But I do think, I think that there's something to, like, the small leading to the big. And I just, like, a lot of this stuff, when I was reading the Justice League from Scott and, God, who was the artist to begin with? It was Manipul did like the 4-issue miniseries, like Cry for Justice or No Justice or something.
It wasn't Capullo.
No,
Who did he launch it with?
I don't remember. But anyways, like that story felt like me being told that stuff was big all the time rather than it actually.
Jim Chung. Sorry.
Oh, it was Chung?
It's Jim Chung.
Was he only there for one issue though, or something?
Yeah, I think 1 or 2 issues maybe.
As but Jim Chung special.
He was the opener. Yeah.
But it really, like, honestly, like that whole thing. A lot of times when I'm reading those types of those books, I get excited about it because I wanted to see where that was going. It felt like a big new direction, and then I read it, and it just feels like I'm being told why this is cool rather than being shown why this is cool, and that's a problem. I don't know. I mean. It's interesting because like all these pockets, like I really love like the digital focus, like all these 99-cent comics. Like I could see a lot of these creating like a new generation of readers for DC. YA stuff, I could see that creating new generations of readers. And like the Black Label stuff, I mean, like honestly, like that's so easy to jump onto. If somebody was like, "Oh, I want a Wonder Woman story," like how hard would it be to just give them the trade for Dead Earth, even though it's gonna be like a $50 hardcover or whatever, but. You know, it's like there's so much of this stuff that's just so easy to get on board with. Yeah. And like I remember when I was reading that Justice League, that first arc, and they were talking about like the Still Force or something like that. I'm like, what am I reading? Like, I don't know anything that is going on in this comic.
And if you have a barrier to entry, layman is doomed. There's no way.
It was confounding. But I don't know. I mean, is there... Like, what's the way out of this? I don't know what the path is. And like,
well, I mean, so much is going to change at DC. They just had a complete editorial overhaul. So, I mean, I think we're going to see more digital stuff. Like, it's interesting because I was talking to my comic shop owner. She says the only people that buy DC monthly books are club owners, like people with a pull list. All of their traffic, all of their foot traffic, it's all graphic novels. Like, so, like, new readers, they're going straight to graphic novels. The thing is, those people that have the pull are your consistent customers. They're there every single week or whatever. But at the same time, those people are they're going to still show up to buy your Justice League graphic novel instead of a ongoing series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to change, like at least not in the next year or so. It could. Everything changes right now, like just snap your fingers, everything's different.
Right.
But like I've wanted for years for the industry to shift. Like I don't think single issues are the future at all. They're a relic of the past. They need to go. It sucks for retailers. Like, and it's an art form as well, but like $4 for 20 pages. I get it that people are working and like, but it's just not feasible in any way. You like make a graphic novel, sell that for $12 to $16, not Marvel's 19 for 4 issues or whatever. Like, and like, I feel like so many of like Constantine, like Hellblazer would have, I feel, sold so much better if they just released it as an original graphic novel that was 3 short stories. But who knows? Maybe I'm full of shit. Like I'm not watching the charts all that closely.
Well, not that the charts exist anymore.
Yeah, it's just like it sucks that like a book like Hellblazer can't survive in this market, but also everything died.
Yeah, but I mean, I have to say, this is not me besmirching that book whatsoever, but I mean, it's like, it's a Hellblazer book. It's kind of like, outside like the 90s when that book ran for forever, it's like, I don't know if it really has like a significant market. And the interesting thing is there was just that Black Label Hellblazer, or Constantine book. Yeah. Hellblazer, Rise and
Fall, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, and like that book seems... I don't know. I wrote this piece that I was writing about basically a thought experiment of where the direct market could go in like the next 5 years. And my favorite option that I suggested was basically a blend of digital, low priced, like collections, hardcovers, graphic novels that are actually like really well made, and then
Mm-hmm.
single issues are basically like Black Label stuff.
Black Label books, exactly. And I like that idea a lot. Like if everything was prestige format, everything was 48 pages. Like
It has substance to it, and it like is a real thing. I mean, because
yeah,
that's one of the things I actually think that one of the best trends in comics right now, period, is that I feel like the production value on books overall is increasing. And like, you know, you mentioned Adventure Man. Adventure Man is like a substantial book. It has like a lot to it. And I really appreciate that about it. And I feel like that makes these single issue comics feel like that much more. And when you can actually have like a real thing, a real product that actually ends up feeling like it's something, I feel like that makes a subconscious difference.
yeah. Are you reading Lazarus?
Yes.
So the switch over to prestige format for that, I felt like quarterly prestige format, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like that book, it's already like it's a pretty dense book where like books that are so plotty like that, it can be hard to follow from month to month. Like if and at least Lazarus gives you like a very good recap page, but some books don't give you a recap page at all. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I do read a lot of comics. Like I find a recap page to be extremely helpful, but it just makes me think about how antiquated the actual form is, and maybe this isn't how we should be engaging with this. Like we're a binge culture right now. Like I think it's like companies like TKO or whatever, which are trying to figure out new distribution models while also like looking at different ways to, I mean, they're still just doing 6-issue stories, but at least they're giving you an option of single issues versus a graphic novel. But yeah, it needs to change. And I feel like those single issues, they absolutely need to give you more. Like we loved House of X, Powers of 10 because meat. We got meat in those issues. We were having a full meal. Like we got the data pages. Every issue took you at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's like if you're a fast reader, like cuz I mean, I can read a comic in 5 minutes. Like you're talking about at World's End or whatever, they're 20 screens on an iPad.
Right.
It takes me 3 minutes to read that. I have a great time. I enjoy the experience. It's good. But again, that's $1.
Yeah.
It's not $4.
Right.
That's not $6 or whatever for an Empire number 6. Like where, okay, cool. I read an issue that I've read 50 billion times before.
I want to point out really quick that like I bring this up on the podcast way too often. I agree with most of what you're saying. And at the same time, I really like Spider-Man Full Circle, and that was $10, and it was fucking insane. It is a batshit crazy comic. Did you read that?
Circle. I did, yeah, with like 20 creators just doing like what was that? What's that game called? I'm not even gonna know.
Where they just keep handing it off over and over. Yeah, I mean, it was wild. I mean, you start with a Hickman and Bachalo story that moves into this and that, and it was just like, I brought this up to Al, and he was just like, oh my God, they included that in the back of the book. And it was like emails between the creative team where they talked about how they did that, and you can tell like the personalities, because like Al Ewing at the end of it was just trying to like make it all work, and I'm just like, I feel like that's how he does things.
Yeah,
but I mean,
where they basically pulled off what DC was doing with the Commandy thing, and that they like that was just not all that interesting because the creative teams were kind of boring, versus like, yeah, just get all of them on. I would love more books like Full Circle, of course. Like I want fun, cool shit like that. Like, you know, it's not fun to see the 20th Dark Multiverse version of something. You saw that they're doing Dark Multiverse Metal.
I saw that there was 3 more announced for December. I didn't look into the details because
one of them is Metal. One of them is Tales of the Dark Multiverse Metal.
Isn't it already the Dark Multiverse?
Yes, exactly.
That's like David.
This is literally just the original Metal.
You liked Metal a lot, though. I remember
I did like Metal a lot.
You talked me into it.
I liked Metal, and I think I'm going to stand by liking the original Metal. And I don't dislike the current Metal. What I dislike is like the year and a half of buildup or whatever, because it didn't even seem like 2 full years. Like they moved fast. and it was boring. Like all of that stuff with Perpetua and the Lex Luthor stuff, Apex Lex, so stupid. Could give less of a shit. And that killed a lot of my enthusiasm for. It's called death metal now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, death metal pretty fun.
Yeah,
I don't mind picking it up. Capullo, awesome artist. Like great art team on that book. Scott Snyder, he can come up with some crazy shit. Like
I liked Batman Last Night on Earth. I thought that was another good Black Label book. I enjoyed it.
Like, I mean, I really like the metal is stupid, and it knows that it's stupid. Here's the thing, like the Batmobile, that's also Batman. The dinosaur Batman, like these are kind of like dumb. Just it's dumb, and I dig it. Like I like that kind of silliness on the page, because like that's what we're here for. I remember I interviewed Alish Kott before his Secret Adventures run, and he was like, "This is a medium, like this is a genre of guys that dress up in brightly colored costumes and beat the shit out of people. Like, if you don't see the humor in this, like, if you don't see that there's like a baked in humor into every superhero comic, like, you cannot take this shit too seriously. Like, and I laugh when I read shit that's too serious. And it kind of just is like, you're missing the point.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm there with you. Although I will say, I was not a big metal fan. I haven't read death metal yet. It was just like, it might have been too ridiculous for me. And that's really saying something. Like, I literally, like, two of the oldest comics I own are the first appearances of MODOK and Stiltman, because I love ridiculous stuff. Okay, so just a few more questions. We got to wrap up. I had a question. We had one of our questions on Twitter was, if DC did a House of X and Powers of 10, who makes it? What is it about? I mean, I think it's got to be like at least Justice League family related.
It's Justice League for sure. Justice League. Yeah, I would say Justice League. Make it Justice League Unlimited style, where it's 50 members of the Justice League, like a huge number of characters, artists, Stuart Immonen. I mean, I want Stuart Immonen and Al Ewing to do DC together. I think they would blow it out of the water. So that's but I mean, like, it sucks to be like, Al Ewing, he could fix it. But like, the thing is, writers usually kind of fall into, are they going to be a good DC writer? Or are they going to be a good Marvel writer? And he's proven that he can write the shit out of Marvel stuff. But he's written such a wild range of Marvel, from the street level stuff to super crazy cosmic, that I think he would be perfect for DC. I think he would unlock Superman. It would be perfect. It'd be so good. Like Al Ewing and like Michael Cho on Superman. Like something that is just classic, pure. Oh, I bet that'd be so good. Like,
I was going to say, my one would be Nick Darrington and Doc Shaner splitting with Tom Taylor.
Tom Taylor, of course.
I was hoping you were going to think I was going to say Tom King. But no, I mean, that would be...
Oh, we're done. We're done with Tom King right now.
I don't know. I mean, I think that part of the reason why I'd want to see those two on it is because... did you read Batman Universe?
Of course I read Batman Universe.
Oh, man.
Best Batman book of the last 5 years, probably.
Oh, my God. It's so good. And also, it's like, that was Bendis having fun and just doing his thing. And like, it was such a good book. And to me, it's like, I almost would want Doc and Nick Darrington on there, because you would subconsciously understand that this book is about bringing joy back into this universe through their art. And I think that that's important, because it's like, I swear to God, I don't know if it's the movie's influence or what, but when was the last time any DC comic had fun? Like besides like insane fun, I mean like actual joy that was actually in continuity. Because it's like Batman Universe was really nice
I
because
mean, when you mentioned Jimmy Olsen, I immediately started
oh
laughing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
that's true. I mean, I
Jimmy
always forget
Olsen,
Jimmy Olsen just doesn't like. It's same with like Dial H for Hero. It's like Dial
it
H for
doesn't feel
Hero.
like they don't feel like in continuity books though either.
Yeah, they feel like
They
they're
are,
operating in
but
their own
yeah.
world. But yeah, I mean it's true. It's like Wonder Twins is fun too, but and somehow supposed to be in continuity despite the fact that like they turned like the Justice League's computer into like I don't know, like the weirdest character that's ever existed, and everyone in that book is like a complete moron basically. But I love it. Okay, you know, it's funny. Like the last question I had is kind of very duplicative. It's like I was going to say who would, because I feel like we normally talk about this. Who would write and draw a Marvel versus like the next big event for like Marvel or DC. But okay, and instead like when the pandemic was really kicking up, and people are like, oh, let's do a Marvel versus DC event. Who would write and draw a Marvel versus DC event if each publisher contributed one writer and one artist? I feel like we know the answers for writer. It'd be Tom Taylor and Al Ewing, right?
In terms of who we want,
Who we want,
or who we think that they would send.
Let's do both. Let's do both.
Different.
Let's do both.
Oh, I need to see Al Ewing play in the DC sandbox. Absolutely,
So
for sure.
Want is,
and then
it has to be one from each. It'd have to be like the original. So it'd be like Ron Mars and Peter David in the original.
Yeah, Tom Taylor sounds like who I would want from DC. Yeah, he's like all of his books are just like so good. Suicide Squad, what a great book.
So with the actuality, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I feel like it would probably be Donny Cates and
Scott Snyder.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Cates, you know, Snyder, I would say maybe Aaron.
So he was just on my podcast, and it was really interesting. He said he has like 2 other books he wants to do at DC, but he didn't really have plans beyond that. And the one was like this big thing, he said, and he didn't get into details on that. And the other one was a Nightwing book, which I thought was interesting.
Nightwing. I just rolled my eyes.
Wait, because you don't like Dick Grayson, or because him writing Dick Grayson?
Oh no, because I Nightwing. What is Nightwing? Is there going to be a Nightwing ever again? I know that I think that might actually be a thing that happens like next month. But Nightwing means nothing to me at this point.
I have literally. What is Dick Grayson doing now? I have no idea.
He was Rick.
Oh, forgot he's fucking Rick. Oh god.
I think and then he became for Joker War. I believe he's Dickie Boy.
Oh my god. I
mean, I'm not reading any of this, of course. I'm just what I've gleaned from the internets.
I remember when the Rick thing came out, I had to like read multiple articles because I just didn't believe it.
Wait, we didn't talk about Generations.
I mean, what is there to talk about?
What is there to talk about? It was supposed to be a gigantic event, then COVID happened, and
they
DC
completely
underwent gigantic, massive upheaval, and now it's DC's Exiles?
I guess, yeah. It's like teaming up a bunch of random characters in an 80-page comic that's $9.99. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
who cares?
Yeah, it's just really strange. Like it's all very strange. I mean, we also didn't talk about your Fantastic Four idea.
Oh yeah. Well,
is it just me?
My Fantastic Four idea, which is just we only find them when they're dead team doing. They couldn't do Fantastic Four, so they made their own book. That's going to be way cooler and better.
I feel like our solution to all these problems is basically just clone Al Ewing and Tom Taylor.
That's so uninspired though.
Hey,
like, you know what? You know who would be cool on like a Fantastic Four book? Sloan Long. Talk about like we'd get like the powers would be so cool. Like I think that there's a cool like. Not necessarily body horror, because I think that's like what the most recent Fantastic Four movie was going for. But like all of those characters, except for Sue, who is intentionally invisible or whatever, have and honestly, her powers are tactile in a cool way too, because she essentially has telekinesis. But like Fire, Stretchy, Rock, those are all cool things that could be presented on the page in like a more interesting way with like a different artist. Like if I think, I mean, I wanted, I want Future Foundation to come back, honestly, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. Like, I feel like that's just like a gigantic missed opportunity. That's just sitting there on the table. Like, shit, get Raina Telgemeier and I don't know, a cool artist to do a Future Foundation book that's about a school that the Future Foundation does. There's a bunch of cool characters that they can play around with there. Erica Henderson or something. Like, I feel like that team, holy shit. Like, like make like put the talents on your franchises to make them big. Like Squirrel Girl, there was no reason for Squirrel Girl to become a huge hit. And like I don't know, like Squirrel Girl, I don't know how it didn't sell the best in single issues or whatever, but that's like an undisputed hit. That book resonated with a huge amount of people. It won awards. It sold a bunch of trades. It's in schools, like
Scholastic book
in
fairs. It's brand.
So like that book made an impact because Marvel put the people that love that property and that would do interesting things with it. Like, and I guess I'm not arguing that Dan Slott doesn't love the Fantastic Four, but like that's not fresh blood in any way. Like it doesn't feel, it just feels so regressive to me when I read that book. And Fantastic Four is all about the unknown. It's all about pushing forward. And I want to see art styles. Trad Moore. Get Trad Moore on that book. Like, give me artists that are going to do cool, crazy shit. I loved Alex Ross's like pitch that he posted a few years ago. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh my gosh, look this up. It'll blow your mind. Alex Ross, before Dan Slott got the gig, he pitched a Fantastic Four series that like he would pencil and maybe like co-write or something. He did all this art for it. It looked cool. I mean,
did Marvel say no?
Yeah, Marvel said no. They gave it to Dan Slott or whatever. I mean, like, do you think that Alex Ross really could have been? He would have been able to do like 1 issue, 2 issues, or something.
Right.
Like,
gotta give him a lot of time.
There's a whole bunch of logistic issues there, but at the same time, like, that would be a big deal if Alex Ross showed up to draw to paint 4 issues of Fantastic Four or something. Like, I mean, shit, I would read the hell out of the Marvel's team on Fantastic Four reunited.
I do think it's really interesting though, because it's like, I had my big small thing earlier, but also it just seems like most of the ideas that we like the most are the ones that take the most risk, and superheroes are inherently a very risk adverse idea because they're intellectual property. And I don't know, it's interesting. Like in a lot of ways, like I think the most interesting books when you look at them often have like a commonality of like an editor that has a real vision. And that's not me taking away from anybody, but it's like, for a long time, Will Moss was my guy. And like, he still is. I love Will Moss, like, and like what he does and how he casts books and everything. And then also like, we talked about Andy Corey, but like the Black Label stuff, I mean, that was Corey and Mark Doyle and Chris Conroy's baby.
Chris Conroy's doing great work too.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad that he's sticking around. So, but man, those DC cuts were tough.
Yeah, they really were. I don't know. It was interesting because like I had a lot of people that asked me if I was going to talk about it on the podcast, like do a specific podcast, and I'm like, we didn't know anything from it. We just know a lot of people lost their jobs, and it's like I don't really know how you build a podcast around that. I don't know. Like we could speculate about what the content future is, and it seems to me that it's probably going to be like the YA stuff mixed with like digital as like a primary focus, and I have a hard time arguing with that. But at the same time, it's just like I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with that.
Anyway. I mean, I love it. I love the idea of streamlining these lines down and putting out work that is like valuable and interesting. A lot of superhero stuff feels disposable. And like, unfortunately, it's because the industry runs on it. The direct market runs on it. It runs on Avengers comics. It runs on Venom. Like, it runs on Batman. Like, and you need to put those Batman comics out. Like, they need to be coming out. And there needs to be some big Batman event that puts every villain there and every hero. And you know what? Like, unfortunately, we get that 3 times a year.
Yeah. So maybe
rinse, like, just over and over again.
Maybe ultimately what we're saying is like the main stuff isn't necessarily for us, and we just have to have our pockets.
And the thing is, they're like, those pockets are there. Like Marvel's about to get, like, they're above Scholastic now. Like,
they're
that
what?
is going. You know that Marvel's putting out graphic novels with Scholastic.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so like, they're like, that is the name to like get with, to really, if you want to tell DC that we are going to be competition for you in this market, you join forces with the person that has stranglehold on that market.
Oh yeah.
Like, so it's going to be interesting for sure. And I love it because, I mean, those YA comics are bomb. Like, Shadow of the Batgirl, that's awesome. Green Lantern Legacy, hell yeah. Sign me up. Like, I don't want continuity. I want cool ideas with established IP from creators that aren't getting a shot on the big bucks and that deserve a shot on the big bucks.
Yeah. I'm all for that too. Oliver, that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on for the 5th annual Superhero State of the Union. I'm looking forward to year 6 with you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Off Panel with the AV Club's Oliver Sava. You can find him on Twitter at Oliver Sava and his writing on the AV Club, Polygon, and Sketched. As a heads up, Off Panel is once again brought to you by Sketch.com. Check out the new version of the site and consider subscribing for access to all of the site's content and its members-only forum. If you're a fan of Off Panel, make sure to check it out on Patreon. If you back the show on there, you not only support it, but you get early access to each week's podcast, access to weekly content, and more. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Off Panel on iTunes or Spotify and give the show a rating or review while you're at it. You can find Off Panel and Sketched on social media by liking on Facebook at /sketch. That's SKTCHD. Follow on Twitter at @SketchComic or following me at @SlicedFriedGold. Big thanks to all my existing patrons, including SB, Antonio Offen, Nick Bennett, Daniel Whitfield, Scotty Young, Susanna Polo, Jeff Weira, Reed Hinkley Barnes, Mario Tiambang, AbductorTheComic.com, Andrew Carita, Matt Mahoney, Charlie Chu, Stephen Hall, Pensacola Pop Comics, Kim Esslin, Philip Myra, Christian Shelton, Kenny Porter, Chris Pachalo, Torrin Grumbeck, Fuzz Bubbles, Christopher Taha, Transmitter Down, Waltz Comics and Books, Carl Mizell, Danny Ollie, Paul Slates, Akil Wilson, Alex Dimitriopoulos, Terry Dodson, Liana Kangas, Keegan Ray, Milton Lawson, Wesley Giff, Sean Kirkham, Harry Small, Alistair Ross, Julio Anta, Brett A. Schmidt, Jason Goodmanson, Paul Ryanwan, Vita Ayala, Tara Ferguson, Dave Slusher, WMQ Comics, Akil, Kokachi, Phil White, Sean Pinell, Ken Heidelman, Philip Seavey, Al Ewing, Ryan Alcock, Nick Michelin, David Kelly, Rob Wilson IV, Nick Plato, Owen McCready, Brendan Fletcher, Gary Maloney, Jonathan Nielsen, Matthew Groom, Jason Massey, Adam Bogart, Xavier Files, Matthew Taylor, Tyler Turner, Nick Patera, Jacob Zarelli, Ford Gilmore, David Brawley, Nick Hall, Bjorn Basin, John Hendricks, Steve Anderson, Ian Maxwell, Cliff Chang, Benjamin Shipper, Colin McMahon, Chris Palmer, Scott McGovern, Nathan Fairbairn, Kat McKenzie, Adam Highfield, Fiona Staples, Chris O'Halloran, Mark Abnett, Mike Murphy, Michael Shirley, Tom Barnett, Jim Demonacos, Norbert, Nick Lowe, James Kaplan, and Mission Comics Art in San Francisco. You guys are all the best. A quick thanks to Upright T-Rex Music, who wrote and performed Off Panel's theme song just for the show. Check out their music on Spotify because it's completely delightful. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for another episode.